You ready? Cuyahoga County Public Works Procurement and Contracting Committee meeting for Wednesday, November 30th, 2022 will be called to order. Roll call, please.
And just as a reminder to all who are in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the YouTube page. Calling the roll, Mr. Tuma.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
Ms. Conwell. Ms. Conwell is absent at the moment. Mr. Sweeney.
Present.
Ms. Turner. Ms. Turner is absent at the moment. There is a quorum.
Okay, and is there any public comment this morning?
No, Mr. Chair, no one is signed in.
All right, and could I have approval of minutes from the November 16th, 2022 meeting? From approval of minutes, gentlemen? So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the November 16th, 2022 minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And the ayes have it. And Madam Clerk, if we could have the first matter referred to committee here this morning?
Resolution number 2022-0423, authorizing an amendment to contract number 1276 with Maple Heights Commerce 2 for lease of space of Satellite Office Number 3 located at 21100 Southgate Park Boulevard in the city of Maple Heights.
Okay, and who do we have to speak on behalf of this morning? Please state your name for the record.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. John Myers from the Department of Public Works, here today to seek authority from council to proceed with this 5-year amendment on behalf of Cuyahoga County Juvenile Court. They have a couple of satellite probation offices in order to facilitate and encourage responsiveness to the kids who are on probation. And we've been at this site for several years. We're seeking a 5-year amendment in the amount of $385,950. This is an inclusive lease, which includes cleaning and other caretaking items. We pay, in addition to this rent, we do pay utilities.
Okay, and the start date on this?
Would be January 1st, 2023.
Okay, and what is it per square footage on this?
Our new rate, this first year of the new lease will continue as it is this year at $14.50 per square foot, and then it increases approximately 50 cents for the next couple of years.
Okay. I'll open it to questions for my colleagues. None?
I have a question.
Okay, Mr. Miller.
And my question is, how does the cost going forward compare with what we're currently paying?
Mr. Chairman, to Councilman Miller, it's roughly, as I said, this first year is exactly the same as we're currently paying, and then it increases 50 cents. So right now we're paying $14.50 per square foot, and that will continue into the new lease. The year after, our second year of the lease will be $15, and then, as I said, increase 50 cents. So it's there is some increases that will, and given our inflationary times, we're having more and more pushback from our landlords because historically they've absorbed those costs, and it's getting harder for them to do it this time. But it's an appropriate and increase. Market appropriate, excuse me.
Any further questions? Any further questions, Mr. Miller? No, okay. And I don't know if I caught this, but what was the funding source on this?
This is levy funds that go to juvenile court for these type of purposes.
All right, and then are we using the entire space or is it just a portion?
The building is a former medical arts office building at Southgate, which is convenient for our folks since there's a transportation center there. So it's one floor on one wing of this particular medical arts building.
Okay, and then is there an extension option on this or no?
There's not. We're there for the next 5 years.
Okay, I see Ms. Conwell joined us. Do you have any questions?
Yes, through the chair to John. So these lease choices, how will it impact the other leases that we have?
The juvenile court currently has two other satellite offices. They have one in the Shaker Square area on Shaker Boulevard and one in Parma on Pearl Road. So they've had these three satellite offices for some time now. So they will be, as always, continue to look to see if these are meeting their needs in the future. This particular office was probably in the best shape and met their needs the most, so they felt confident proceeding with 5 years here. And they'll be looking at the other two satellite offices as we move forward to see if they continue to meet their needs either as space or geographically.
I know we have the other leases as well, trying to keep them all comparable. Do you think they'll come back with anything?
The other landlords, you mean?
Yeah.
We have very good rents. Most of these juvenile satellite probation offices are small and in older retail and office areas, so that we get a pretty decent value for what we're getting. So I don't think it will have much. I don't see anything remarkably changing, Mr. Chairman, to Councilwoman Conwell.
We recently updated the leases for Quincy Place and places like that, correct? So
Yes, those, Ms. Conwell, those are larger leases that deal, this is like a 4,000 square foot lease. Those are tens of thousands of square feet and deal with other things in addition. This is just focused completely on juvenile court and those kids that are on probation that have to report to their POs. So the other places such as Mount Pleasant, which is senior and adult, and Quincy and Old Brooklyn and West Shore have broader mandates of health and human services that are more, serve a lot bigger slice of population.
so this won't be a trickle effect, you don't feel?
No, this should have no impact on those particular leases.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, I see the time frame here is pretty tight window as far as.
Yes, if I could ask the indulgence of the committee to recommend second reading, I'd appreciate that.
Okay, I'll make a motion for second reading suspension on 2022-0423. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk, if you could please read the next piece of legislation.
Resolution number 2022-0424, making an award on requisition number 8691 to Karen Gnoski in the amount not to exceed $550,000 for medical treatment for canines at the Cuyahoga County Animal Shelter.
Okay, and if you could just please state your name for the record.
Good morning, Melanie Say, Department of Public Works. We are respectfully requesting a 3-year contract with Dr. Karen Gnoski. The procurement method for this contract was the RFQ, 8691. The RFQ opened January 19th, 2022 and closed February. We only had one response, which was Dr. Gnoski. Just for greater information, this contract will service the Cuyahoga County Animal Shelter, and the services that will be provided will be just to oversee the vaccination and deworming protocols, to oversee the infectious disease protocol, the euthanasia protocol, just basic examinations and diagnostic interpretations of x-rays, and just developing treatment plans for the animals. And I'm welcome to ask any questions.
Okay. Have we used this vet in the past?
Yes, we have.
Okay. And has the amount of the contract gone up since the last contract?
The previous contract, it was $85 an hour. This contract is $125.
Okay. And then, and when was the last contract entered into?
The last contract was entered into, I'm thinking 2018.
Good morning, Tom Pavich, Public Works. The last contract was in 2015. That was also an RFQ. Dr. Karen Gnoski was also the only bidder during that time period.
Okay.
And that was amended several times before we got to this point.
Okay, great. And does this contract have an option for an extension?
No.
Okay. Questions from my colleagues?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Did you say the old rate was $80 and the new rate was $125? That's an increase of more than 50%. What do you think accounts for that?
In her old contract, there was an escalation clause, which we did not escalate any of.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, can you
Yes.
make sure speak?
In her old contract, there was an escalation clause whereby every couple of years she could request to come back to have it increased based on the what was going on as far as the cost of living or whatever. And we never actually increased it. So this actually will bring her up to current veterinarian rates that are out there.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, since 2015?
Since 2015, correct.
Okay. Any other questions? And I recognize Councilwoman Turner has joined us as well. What is the time frame for this contract?
We are respectfully requesting a second reading suspension, just so that the contract can get in place as soon as possible.
Okay.
Because the old contract had expired.
Okay. All right. And what took so long for it to get here if it expired already? I'm just curious.
So excuse me, it's Tom Pavich again. As Melanie said, this RFQ closed back in February. We had several negotiation challenges with this contract. It was very difficult to negotiate the contract terms, the payment terms, and several other aspects of this RFQ. And with RFQs, you're able to negotiate back and forth, and this one was unfortunately drawn out beyond my expectations. So.
And I will add that this RFQ, this result in procurement, is the second rebid. The first time we bid it, we received no actual bids.
And why do you think that is?
I don't know. We did have our purchasing analysts aggressively call over 33 vets to let them know that this RFQ was out there to try to generate more interest, and we just did not get any interest.
Okay. All right.
I also want to chime in that I believe this entire industry, the animal shelter kennel industry, has completely evolved since COVID. During COVID, there's been a huge spike in the amount of adoptions and people purchasing dogs, which has caused shortages in this actual market. I myself adopted a dog from the kennel. It took me 9 months to be on a waiting list to get into the vet that's in our city. So it's very difficult in this industry in lieu of, what's going on with the current epidemic.
Okay, appreciate that information. Ms. Conwell has a question.
Through the chair, how are the vets paid? Do they invoice? Are they coming in to see?
Yes, it's by invoice.
Okay, so they're coming into the shelter to see the dogs and do this, or the dogs?
Yes, no, all work is performed at the shelter. It's by invoice, and it's a detailed invoice, so it actually lists every procedure, everything that she's doing, and actually by dog name. So it's very comprehensive.
Okay, is this done on some of these things need to be done on an annual basis? Are they done on an annual basis?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no further questions, I'll make a motion to move our 2022-0424 along on second reading suspension. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. All right, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Madam Clerk, if you could, please, the next resolution.
Resolution number 2022-0425, making an award on requisition number 10100 to Wadsworth and Associates in the amount not to exceed $689,800 for phased installation of uninterruptible power sources at the Juvenile Justice Center.
Okay, and if you could just please state your name for the record.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. My name is Matt Reimer. I'm the Facilities Administrator for Department of Public Works. And this contract is the result of a formal bid that is a major procurement for our capital project to replace the uninterruptible power supplies at the Juvenile Justice Center located at 9300 Quincy. This bid actually replaces 19 building-wide UPSs, and those UPSs support all of the telecommunication and security electronic infrastructure in the building. So we're at the the end of life cycle of all of the existing building UPSs. We actually have 4 in failure status right now, and so this is of critical importance, especially alongside the major investment that juvenile court is making in to upgrade their security electronics for the detention center and the court. This bid was the second bid attempt. We also bid it late last fall and then had to do a redesign, and this bid attempt was the second time. We got 3 bidders. We had a bid range of the lowest being the recommended vendor at $689,800 all the way up to $839,000 were the bid range of the 3 bidders. This was, as I mentioned, the lowest bid. They were compliant with the 10% diversity goal, and happy to answer any of your questions.
Okay. The contract indicates that the installation will be phased in. Can you explain how long that will take, and will it go past the term of the contract, or?
No, so this contract is predominantly a supply contract of just the UPSs. The installation will take place with our county electricians, and so over the project appropriation accounts for that. So this bid will just be for the material, associated spare parts, and warranty services. The electrician installation is expected to be in the second and third quarter of 2023, based on the lead time of this equipment.
Okay. And then who's going to do the ongoing maintenance for this contract?
So we have an extended warranty package in this bid, so that'll cover a 3-year period, and then there's various forms of preventative maintenance that are performed on these kind of larger UPS systems, and our electricians would be performing those preventative maintenance aspects.
And then it's my understanding there was some issue with the bid bond. Has that been resolved?
So yes, we had, of the 3 vendors, the highest vendor was technically non-compliant, but there were the 2 lowest vendors, including this one, had a non-compliant bid bond, both for witness signatures. So we worked with the Department of Law, specifically the county risk manager in the Department of Law, and they recommended that we would be able to waive the bid bond requirement for the purposes of the witness signature, which we did for all bidders, which left us with still with the low bidder being the recommended vendor.
Okay. Any questions from my colleagues? Okay, seeing none, what's the time constraints or frames on this?
Mr. Chair, we would respectfully request second reading consideration, just because there's a 36-week lead time on most of these UPSs. There are various sizes. Some have different lead times, and that would put us at the end of March, and that would align to the not later date that we need to start installing them to align with the juvenile court project on the security electronics phase.
Okay. Well, with that, I'll make a motion for second reading suspension on R 2022-0425. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. All right, thanks, Mr.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk, if you could read the next piece of legislation.
Resolution number 2022-0426, making an award on requisition number 9647 to KS Associates in the amount not to exceed $700,000 for preliminary engineering design services for various FEMA lakefront sites.
Okay, and if you could state your name for the record.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and committee members. Michael Dever with the Department of Public Works. Thanks for having me here today. Today I have, actually, there's 2 contracts that'll be before you regarding the lakefront access plan. If I could, I'll just give you a quick overview of how we got to this point first, and then maybe we can cover. Thanks, Janine. Okay. So as I presented before to this committee and to other committees of council, the countywide lakefront access plan was developed, we started it back in August of 2019. And over the last few years, with the help of the County Planning Commission, we've developed an overall plan to address greater public access along the lakefront, the 32 miles of lakefront. We've focused on 4 areas, have become the priority areas. And if you look on the map in front of you here, those 4 circled areas are our priority focus areas right now. Furthest to the east is the Beulah Park, East 185th Street or 156th Street. close to downtown Burke Lakefront Airport area is 9th to 55th along the North Marginal is our, we have a project advancing there. Another project is the Gold Coast, which is one of these projects that'll be before you today in the city of Lakewood. And then the fourth project is the Lake Clifton Bridge connector. It's a pathway along the road and goes over the Rocky River Bridge. What I'm here today is to present two projects, and the first project is KS and Associates, as we were referred to. So just recently, the county was awarded a FEMA grant. We submitted an application. As I think I've told the committee before, we're trying to pursue as many grant opportunities that are out there. Being successful, we submitted a grant early last year, or late last year, and we got the grant submitted actually in January of this year, and we just recently got notice that we were awarded that grant for $2.16 million. So those dollars are going, it's referred to as the Hazardous Mitigation Grant Program, which is being administered by the Ohio Emergency Management Agency. The county is responsible for a 10% match of that grant, so that brings us up to $2.4 million. So we're utilizing those grant dollars are specific to be used to help parties as well as the public explore alternatives to create erosion mitigation plans that will address bluff, toe erosion. This is at the bottom end of the cliff along the waterway. Identify areas of unpermitted fill along the lakefront. Over the last 60 to 80 years, there's been a lot of unpermitted fill dumped into Lake Erie, and now there's whenever there's any work done along the lakefront, that unpermitted fill now needs to be removed from the waterfront. So this grant opportunity helps us identify those areas, and then in turn, we're going to utilize, in exchange for public access to areas, we're going to assist in trying to develop a mitigation plan for those areas. As you know, the key piece of the whole lakefront access plan, we're following a model that was developed by the city of Euclid, and where they exchanged with private property owners shoreline protection measures in exchange for creating public access points along the water. The city of Euclid developed the program. Pretty much they started in 2006, and it took them a number of years, but they really perfected it, and in turn, we're really just picking up the ball from something that was created and then trying to apply it in other areas along the lake. We've been successful. We've had receptivity from many community or public-private owners, and so we're in turn, or private owners. So in turn, now we're going to use these mitigation dollars to try and develop a more comprehensive plan for those areas where there's receptivity to have this public access. I hope that's clear. So with that being said, this first contract that's before you for $700,000, this is going to be for engineering and design services to look at these specific areas. A lot of this is going to be on the east side of between Wildwood Park, which is about east 160th Street, to east 185th Street. It's roughly about a mile long is the area, and those property owners, which is a little different from what we currently have in the Beulah Park area, they have shown receptivity for the county to partner with them to provide that public access area. We do not have agreements in place with them yet, but as we continue to try and help solve the problem for this erosion that's taking place in their area, which could be up to, in some areas, it's been as much as 15 feet over a 5-year period of erosion issues on their properties. So we are going to start looking at these areas, and that was part of the grant application, is to try and identify those areas. So we've done that, and now we hope to utilize this KS and Associates to advance the plan to develop a mitigation strategy, and then in turn, in the future, a potential construction site there to provide public access. So we had only one proposal that was submitted from KNS. There was a 19% SBE, 9% MBE, and 2% WBE requirement, and that was all met. Actually, the proposal KNS are a WBE and an SBE. The project is funded. $400,000 of this is coming from the FEMA Hazardous Mitigation Grant. An additional 43%, $300,000, is part of the county executive's direction of the ARPA dollars. He set aside roughly $8 million of ARPA funds for waterfront improvement, and this is part of those dollars we're going to use to advance this project. I'll pause there and see if there's questions. I know that's a lot of information, and so hopefully it's clear.
All right, thank you. So with there being only one bidder, what type of outreach did you guys do to try to attract bidders?
Actually, it's a very busy time right now, and most of the consultants that there's a lot of work out there. So I think people pick and choose of what they're going to go after. This is somewhat specialized because it's waterfront, but we did reach out to our complete vendor pool, and actually we used one of our other consultants to let us know, is there others in the Great Lakes area that could show interest in this type of project. So this was the best we could do, and like I said, it's a very there's a lot of projects going on out there right now. So the consultants are picking and choosing which ones they want to participate in.
What was the county estimate, if you said it? I don't know.
700,000.
And then this, so this came in.
No, well, see, this is, we negotiate the price, so it's an RFQ at first. You put out the RFQ for certain services to be provided, and then in turn, you negotiate a price. And we do this on many projects to negotiate what work and tasks they're going to do on the project. And then they come back with dollar figures for how much it will cost. We compare that against other projects also to make sure that the county isn't being taken advantage.
Was this higher or lower, or about what you thought?
It's about what we thought.
Okay. I'll open the floor to my colleagues, Ms. Conwell.
Through the chair to Director Dever, will the $700,000 cover all of these sites on the screen, or just one particular?
We're really focused on, as you may know, on the east side, there's Euclid Beach and Wildwood Park. So basically, we're looking at from east of that park, going all the way out to East 185th, which is the Cleveland-Euclid border, roughly a mile. So a lot of those homeowner associations and private owners have expressed interest in participating in this project. So if we have the ability to link Wildwood all the way out to East 185th, where the Western Reserve Hospice is located, I mean, that would be ideal. I don't know if we'll get as far as that, but as we continue to develop this plan and people see what the opportunity is to mitigate the shoreline erosion issue, we feel like we're going to continue to grow interest from them and potential participation.
Okay, for the future sites.
Yes.
Okay, and then my other question would be, what happens to the other areas along the lake line in terms of homeowners, those that are not identified on here?
Well, these are high-risk areas. When we submitted for the grant application, of the 32 miles along the lakefront, we already knew certain areas where the erosion was very high, much like the Beulah Park area. That's the one I referenced. They lost 15 feet of shoreline over a 5-year period. Substantial. Now, that's not happening everywhere along the lakefront. It depends on how it's facing the wind and how the water, the wave action on the cliff, and then what type of material is, many of it's a shale type of material on the cliff. So there is certain areas, and that's why we think these are key areas that we think are worthy of consideration. And the key thing to this all is the public participation. They've shown a willingness, like in certain other areas, in the city of Bracknell or the village of Bracknell, there's no interest. Please, we like our private property as it is, and we're not interested in bringing, public access to it.
Okay, so I understand about the public access, but I was just worried about the hazardous part
Right.
to them, so they're still not interested.
Right. I'm assuming either they have the wherewithal or they have other means to try and attract dollars to mitigate those issues on their properties, which there is a program, I believe it's administered by the state, where they can, property owners can come together and create a special improvement district.
Okay.
And so that they can work together to fix their shoreline, and in turn, that goes on their tax duplicate over a 20-year period or so.
I just was concerned, since we had the money, to make sure that we try to cover all areas.
Yeah, we're going to try and do the best we can. This was a pretty sizable grant to be able to get. And, once again, this was before our grant writers came on board. So we did pretty well here in trying to chase dollars. And now that we have the grant writers, we're still out there trying to pursue additional dollars. So hopefully over the next 18 months here, that you're going to see more of us coming forward to say, look, there's more dollars coming from outside sources to help do these projects.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, any other questions? Mr. Miller?
Regarding this unpermitted fill that you talked about, could there be some circumstances where even though it was unpermitted, that it serves a useful purpose and would be allowed to remain, or does it have to be removed in all cases?
No, I agree with you. It is, and that's working with the state coastline management folks in Ohio Department of Natural Resources. It's going to be specific to areas, but there's a lot of old, like asphalt, oil-based material that was dumped in there. So they're trying to get out as much of that as possible and then create more natural habitats in those areas.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, seeing none.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So since this grant came in, and we were hoping that we may be able to advance both of these projects through second reading suspension, just to keep them moving along as we try and keep these projects and chase additional grant opportunities.
Yeah, the only issue with that I have is that they both have ARPA funding in them. And we have had a policy here of anything with ARPA funding, we've had 3 readings on.
Okay, understood.
And I think we should just, for consistency's sake and fairness sake, Mr. Miller, you have something?
If I'm not mistaken, the ARPA policy has been used very consistently for the community grants for the various districts. But I don't think it's been a hard and fast rule for other ARPA money, and given that that not doing the second reading suspension would force it to wait more than a month till the next meeting, I would be good with the second reading suspension if the rest of the committee feels the same way.
I appreciate your comments. It's my understanding that we've been pretty consistent with it, and I think I feel more comfortable just doing the third reading unless there's going to be some type of harm. What's the harm in waiting?
Just once again, just trying to advance it, but I don't want to cause a disruption here within the council.
Yeah,
so-
I just feel better about just moving along on the full three readings if there's no imminent danger to the proposal or to the project, you know. So with that, I'll make a motion to move R 2022-0426 on second reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
You have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And Madam Clerk, the third piece, or next piece of legislation, I should say.
Resolution number 2022-0427, making an award on requisition number 10237 to GHD Services in the amount not to exceed $1,400,000 for professional engineering design services for the Gold Coast Lakefront Multimodal Facility Project in the city of Lakewood.
All right, and if you could just state your name for the record.
Thanks, Michael Dever, once again with the Department of Public Works. And if I could, Janine, just put the slide back up again. Thank you. Appreciate it. So once again, I'm just following up on the Gold Coast, or on the Lakefront Access Plan. So this is the Lakewood Gold Coast area, and I will advance the slide, I think one here. If we can advance it one. Oh, there you go. So this specific contract is for design, engineering and design services of $1.4 million overall. As I've mentioned already, this is one of our 4 focus areas, is the Gold Coast. We've been working over the last year with the property owners. There's 13 high-rises that stretch from basically West 117th Street almost to Nicholson Avenue in the city of Lakewood. We've had really a great engagement with them. They've all signed letters of interest of trying to protect the shoreline there. Once again, we are looking with these FEMA dollars that just recently came in, that we're going to use a good portion of them for this project, 64% of it. We already did receive another grant for $150,000 from Coastal Management, and then we're going to use additional 25% of the ARPA funds, which is $350,000 to advance this forward. So we've done some preliminary geotechnical investigations here, and there is a bluff failure that could happen fairly soon along this stretch. There's been various shoreline protection measures taken by some of the property owners, and some of them have done stuff back in the 60s and whatnot. But now, overall, we're trying to look at a comprehensive view to improve that access point along these 13 high-rises. What you see in front of you is obviously a conceptual plan that was developed by one of our consultants. We hope to go into a further plan study and ultimately come up with a preliminary plan, which in turn then we'll be working with the private property owners to ultimately get a memorandum of understanding for the improvement, and then ultimately a lease from those 13 high-rises to be able to create this public access plan. It's roughly about 3/4 of a mile long. It's 60 to 80 feet below the bluff. And so it's a really a good project. It fits in with the socioeconomic constraints, or should I say, of that area there. So this was a really a high-profile project, and I think FEMA was excited that we were taking a look at it. So we're trying to advance this project. It had a 19% SBE goal, a 9% MBE, and 2% WBE. Once again, very similar to the earlier proposal that we brought forward, we only had one group that showed an interest in this project. We had put it out. This was the second time we put out this RFQ. So we only did get, and the first time around we got no proposals. So this second time we were fortunate enough, GHD came in with their proposal. So we will, the overall value will be $1.4 million. So with that, I will pause and if there's any questions.
Okay, I'm just looking at this rendering. It looks like Aruba or something, that water. I don't recall. I've been to Lakewood before, but as far as the estimate for the contract, again, was this within range of what you expected?
Once again, as we negotiate the ultimate price for each of the tasks that they do, we feel that that's comparable to other services that because this isn't just the only RFQ we put out. We put it out for engineering services for road, bridge, and other, and even facilities work. So we felt like it was, we negotiated a decent price on this.
Okay, I'll open it up to questions. Ms. Conwell?
To the chair, to the director, so you talked about this would, once this conceptual design becomes a reality, that we would have future leases with the property owners. What do you think that would look like? Like, what is those?
So once again, we're going to follow the Euclid model. So the Euclid model was a three-step process. The first was finding out, is there interest from the property owner for this kind of partnership? And so the first step is the letter of interest, and we received that from all of these. It took us probably about 6 months or so to ultimately get the letters of interest from all 13 high-rises. The next step would be a memorandum of understanding. So as we come close to the conclusion of these preliminary designs, that's where we're going to be looking for memorandum of understanding, because we don't want to be spending the taxpayers' dollars on projects that aren't going to go forward. So then after the MOU is signed and before we award a contract of any type, we're going to expect the lease in place. And that lease then will be for a long-term arrangement, anywhere from 25 to 50-year type of arrangement, where the responsibility to take care of this and to maintain it over a certain lifetime will fall back on, we're working with the city of Lakewood and how this could fit into their overall park plan with the city of Lakewood. The other projects, we've been teaming up with the Cleveland Metro Parks, who will be maintaining, like the Beulah Park. They're going to be maintaining that as really an extension of Euclid Beach Park. So this is the first time we're going really to the municipality. Mayor George and their planning director are pretty excited about this and advancing this forward.
I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't the county paying for the leases, the future leases. Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any additional questions? Mr. Sweeney?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director, it's nice to see you as always. And kind of on the note of my chairman, the pictures is beautiful. And the one question with this dock on the Dine is something that is incredibly enticing. But it's not just maintaining the lakefront with the partnership with the city. It's all activities also. How would you share your thoughts with the activity that, like, there's a dock there, you have to, sell the space and manage it and all that kind of stuff. But that's too conceptual, or that's still part of the?
Yeah, I think it's too conceptual, and the interesting thing about it is that dock concept, actually Mayor Kumar from Bay Village was the one that brought it to our attention, because he had saw a previous plan from decades ago that showed a potential dock or boat slip right at underneath, I think you may know where Pier W is.
Yeah.
So nothing has been advanced. It's all conceptual now. Obviously, the cost tends to ratchet up as opposed to just a path along there. But to work out whatever the arrangement may be into the future, I mean, that's still to be had. Once again, we're looking to work with the city of Lakewood on the overall maintaining this over the life of it.
Yeah, and through the chair, just exciting, and the more opportunities have different things to do instead of just passive walking, which is beautiful, but more amenities, the better. And the conceptual picture has piqued my interest substantially. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, then I'll make a motion to move R 2022-0427 on for second reading. Do I have a second? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is there anything else, miscellaneous business before the committee this morning? Okay, none. All right, seeing none, I'll make a motion to adjourn. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and Public Works will adjourn at